It's been a marathon election, 7 phases, and finally it all ends on Wednesday. That's the last day of polling in Uttar Pradesh. Counting day is this Saturday. On this last day of campaigning today, we saw incredible images of the Prime Minister himself camped in his constituency, Varanasi, campaigning on the streets. Varanasi, it seems, has become a huge prestige battle for the BJP. Akhilesh Yadav held 7 rallies in eastern UP today and claimed that the PM had personally staked so much because the BJP was nervous. Though the BJP says this only shows how confident they are. Mayawati chose to hold a press conference instead of a rally as the campaign wound to a close.
उत्तर प्रदेश को सपा हो, बसपा हो, कांग्रेस हो, उसे मुक्ति दिलाने का अवसर है। अब मुझे बताइए कि बहन जी कुछ आपका भला करेगी क्या? कोई भरोसा है क्या? बुआ में भरोसा है, भतीजे में भरोसा है, भतीजे के यार में भरोसा है, ये कुछ नहीं करेंगे भाई। अब तक आपने इनको देख लिया है मेरे भाइयों बहनों, अब बार बार मौका देकर के उत्तर प्रदेश को तबाह मत कीजिए भाई।
4 दिन में मोदी जी ने 4 बार रीटेक लिया है बनारस में, बात नहीं बन रही है। उत्तर प्रदेश में हम युवाओं की सरकार लाएंगे। अब मोदी जी की आयु हो गई है, अब वो बुजुर्ग हो गए हैं, एज हो गई है, थोड़ी थकान हो गई है।
हम तो कह रहे हैं, प्रधानमंत्री कह के गए थे जौनपुर में कि हमें बोनस में सीट दे दो। अगर बोनस में ही सीट मांगनी थी तो बताओ वाराणसी में 3 दिन आप क्या कर रहे हैं?
बीएसपी की इस चुनाव में भारी बहुमत के साथ ही अपनी अकेले ही पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार बनने के लिए जा रही है। इसलिए बीजेपी ने, उनको ये मालूम है कि वो जो उनका सपना था सरकार बनाने का, वो चकनाचूर हो गया।
Well, joining us on the program tonight, Mr. G.V.R. Rao, spokesperson of the BJP, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. We have Debashish Jararia of the BSP here in the studio with us. And our 2 commentators tonight, Aarti Jairath and Prashant Jha, both senior journalists who've been covering this UP election quite extensively. Salman, Khurshid, former union minister and senior Congress leader, will be joining us in a little while from now. Let me begin with our commentators first tonight. And Prashant, the question that I think everyone is asking you, which you're honest enough to say you can't answer, is who is winning UP? But on a serious note though, Prashant, having travelled the length and the breadth of the state now for all these phases, what is the sense you're getting about why this election has actually been so tough to read? It's not like, Bihar also, where you had conflicting reports coming in even till the last day, but why has UP been so much more complicated to understand and to really call?
Nidhi, thank you for not asking me who is winning. And as you said, I really don't know who is. I don't know who is. I think the reason why this has been a tough election is because it is a genuinely triangular election where each 3 pole has a robust organization and has a loyal social base. Now, if you go back to 2007 or 2012 in UP, these were primarily bipolar contests. The 3rd pole, BJP in 2012, was reduced to 15%. There were 3 elements in the 2012 election. One, there was an overarching narrative. The SP had picked up BSP's corruption, the BSP's park building spree. There was a personality. Akhilesh Yadav was seen as a new face. And the party was able to build a wide coalition across castes beyond its normal social base. 2007, we saw the same thing. What is missing this time is there isn't one single overarching issue across the state. There isn't a single personality defining the election. Prime Minister Modi is popular in pockets. In Purvanchal, one sensed his popularity, but in the West, one did not. Akhilesh Yadav is, of course, popular amongst certain segments. Mayawati is popular among her own base. The third is that the 3 forces, we don't quite have a sense of whether they have been able to go beyond their social base. So, upper castes seem quite solidly behind BJP. BJP has also been able to penetrate the backward castes a little bit. SP and Congress have a solid support among Yadavs and Muslims. Mayawati has solid support among Dalits. But to win elections, you need to have cross-cutting caste coalitions. So I think this has been a complicated election because A, it's triangular, B, there isn't a single overarching issue, 3, there are multiple personalities involved, and 4, there is no force which has been able to build or visibly, I mean on election day we may know which force succeeds in doing this, but to us on the ground which has been able to build a wide cross-cutting coalition.
I think that sums it up really well. And Aarti, just to get you in on that, is that your assessment as well, having travelled to UP? And I think what Prashant is saying is that there's no wave. Like you saw in 2014, there was a Modi wave, right? It was there.
And in 2012, there
it was
a Akhilesh wave. And in
there's no wave
2007,
this time.
there was a very clear mood in favour of Mayawati. There is no such wave that is evident. And you know, UP is this very complicated state, Nidhi, from West UP to Central UP to East UP. It varies so much. And that's what we found as we were traveling. The issues were different in West UP, where Jats are, you know, very dominant and they had their own problems. You know, the issues are quite different in Eastern UP, which is underdeveloped, really, I mean, lacks basic infrastructure, electricity, all kinds of problems, and caste is very, very dominant. Caste dynamics are very dominant in Eastern UP. But the most amazing thing about this election was that as we moved from Lucknow, where we were told about this BJP wave that is building up and so on and so forth, and we moved to Varanasi, suddenly we found in Varanasi that the BJP was in serious trouble. And as one BJP supporter told me, this is the PM's own Lok Sabha seat. Huh? This BJP supporter says, yahan to BJP phas gayi hai.
In Varanasi.
In Varanasi. And we saw the result of that. 3 days, unprecedented, the Prime Minister spending in his own Lok Sabha seat, doing road shows, moving around from lane to lane, you know, asking people to vote for the BJP. You know, I mean, it is really unprecedented because this is an assembly election. He's not even fighting for his own Lok Sabha seat. So, you know, clearly the BJP is very, I believe that this is a sign of nervousness, and the BJP is very unsure of itself, although it has managed to create this hype around itself that it is winning and that there is a wave.
Well, I have to take that to GVR Rao. And Mr. Rao, you heard what Aarti said. She says that the BJP is in serious trouble in Varanasi, which is why we are seeing the Prime Minister campaign in this way. There are others, however, who have argued that it's because the BJP is very confident of how it's doing that it has put the Prime Minister's prestige on the line and put him out there front and center to campaign because you're confident that you're doing well. I mean, this can be looked at both ways, but how would you address this question of the fact that this is an unprecedented campaign? You don't normally see a Prime Minister spending so many days in one constituency, campaigning on the streets like this. What explains it, Mr. Rao?
No, these are the slog overs of a match, and you have your captain, your best hitter, your best batsman. You make use of your last overs to put up a big score. And that's what any party and any leader would do. Why would we let go of 40 seats? I think when Prime Minister is campaigning in Varanasi, I think he's reaching out to the entire area, reaching out to the entire country. So his campaign is not restricted to the urban seats of Varanasi or to his district. He's reaching out to the entire area. And journalists, including Aarti, did not see a BJP wave in Uttar Pradesh even in 2014. I've been on a number of shows. No journalist would accept that the BJP would have a big lead even in Uttar Pradesh. So I know so much for its journalist ability. I'm not pointing out any, but see what Pranay Roy has done. I think he has certainly a much better understanding of how to read elections. And I think I would say, Nidhi, have confidence in what Pranay is saying rather than what journalists are saying. A three-cornered contest is actually easier to predict when one of the parties is way ahead. And on the last election, the gap between the SP and BSP was rather very narrow. If anything, that was a difficult election to read. A Lok Sabha election where we had a near 15-point lead over the runner-up, the Samajwadi Party. Tell me one journalist who said we were getting 50 seats in Uttar Pradesh. Nobody. So I think it's not easy to read elections. And particularly when you have a bias, it becomes completely difficult. you will not be able to see even
Well,
reality
obviously,
before
Mr.
your
Rao,
eyes.
I will believe what Pranoy says, and he says that the BJP has the best chance of winning Uttar Pradesh, certainly, as things stand. But having said that, I did ask you, as you say, you're calling it the slog overs of a match and your best batsman going out and hitting there, but he's also the Prime Minister of India, and it's kind of unprecedented to see not only the Prime Minister campaigning for so many days in this one constituency, which is his Lok Sabha seat, but also senior members of the cabinet and the party president of the BJP pretty much parked there for several days now. So I have to ask that, why has it become so much about the Varanasi seat?
No, I think it's not just Varanasi seat. I think there are 8 assembly seats in district of Varanasi, and there are 40 assembly seats going to polls in the last phase. When our people are there, they're looking at all of them, and not all the ministers are there. This is an exaggeration. People have gone for a day or two. I think impression is given as if they are sitting there for all 10 days. I think that's an exaggeration. And as far as there is possibly no other prime minister who campaigned so much in assembly elections. But there is nothing that prevents or bars a national leader from campaigning. And when you have a popular leader who can deliver an entire election to you, it's an out and out prime minister election. Let me say this.
If
it is
an out and out,
I think I've seen even the programs where Pranay was going around. People say we are voting for Modi ji.
Okay,
so all across Uttar Pradesh.
So can I ask you?
You have a leader who has a larger than life image,
absolutely,
who can deliver a result.
No, and
why not?
He is your best campaigner. There is no doubt about that. And you're saying it's an out and out election of the Prime Minister. Having said that, if tomorrow the BJP loses, is that then going to be accepted by you as a verdict on him?
I think you know what we have performed in 2012. I think that would be the benchmark. I think without whatever we are able to deliver over and above it, whether it is 240, 300, or if you want to really look at a pessimistic number, all those seats are thanks to leadership. I have no hesitation in saying, because I've seen these elections as a pollster despite being a spokesperson.
But it's quite something for you to sort of stake it on the Prime Minister in this way, and that's interesting. Mr. Salman Khurshid, does that reflect, in a sense, the BJP's confidence then? That they're so confident about how they're doing in UP, that they're willing to say that, this is about the Prime Minister, this is his election, and he's clearly taking responsibility for it. And as Mr. Rao puts it, playing the slog overs of this match.
Well, I'm not quite sure that the BJP has very much else that it can say. There is a concentration of power at the top. There is a one-man party syndrome that's hit the BJP. And we can't complain if he wants to spend all his time in a constituency that should have automatically voted for him. Now, don't worry about who's saying it. Just worry about what's happening to you. And also that if the Prime Minister of our country thinks that his constituency is more important than the rest of the country, well, good luck to you. Good luck to you.
But, Mr. Khurshid, the question though is that, one can look at this both ways. It can be seen as a sign of confidence as well. And I'm sure you would admit that the formidable opponent in UP for you right now is Mr. Modi, even though he's not the one who's up for Chief Minister.
Well, I will accept that today the BJP has a one-person machine that works overtime for them. Well, good luck to them. But I don't think that they are a major challenge to us. The alliance that today is fighting in the districts of Uttar Pradesh. But the issue is not who finally wins. The issue is, why is this desperation that is cast a spell on the BJP, that it's concentrating on Banaras simply to ward off any adverse outcome? Well, as I said, they're welcome to try and do it, but they should have wide enough shoulders, broad enough shoulders to accept reality when it finally dawns on the 11th of this month.
Mr. Rao, quick response before I open this up to the BSP and the SP.
Look at who is complaining. The Congress party, which cannot look beyond one family, I think is complaining about some other party. The Prime Minister is a democratically elected leader. He is not there because of his family, and he is the most popular leader. Therefore, the party gets the best benefit out of him. So I think if they have any great expectations about Levin, I think let them have expectations. But Levin, actually, knives will be out as to who is responsible for this defeat. Will Akhilesh be able to put it in the lap of Rahul Gandhi, or will Rahul Gandhi able to somehow put the blame on Akhilesh for his 100th defeat since 2014? Because Rahul has forgotten about winning elections. There is not an election that one can think of, one can recall that he has ever won.
Well, like you said, we'll decide that on the 11th. Prashant wanted to come in briefly before I come to the rest of the panel. Prashant, is it though also a risky strategy for the BJP to put it all on Mr. Modi? Because whichever way this goes, it could work for them. That's great if they win. But then you also kind of admit that, you are a one-man centric party. On the other hand, if you don't win, then, he will have to take responsibility for that. That falls directly on him as well.
So I think you're right that this is a high risk strategy, but we know one thing about Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah: they play high stakes games. And I think there were two things I wanted to say. One was that in the initial phases of the election, while travelling, one did not sense a Modi wave. But after the fourth or fifth wave, particularly in Purvanchal, one heard people talk about Prime Minister Modi a lot. And there is some extraordinary faith that people still have in Prime Minister Modi and his ability to deliver. And there is this, and when we ask them about tangible things that he has done, there is often no clear answer. But this faith is there. What one senses from BJP is that to make up for what appears to be below expectation performance in the earlier phases, they needed a push in the final phases. They needed a sweep in Purvanchal in the last three phases, particularly the last two phases. And I think that is why they have that's why we see this surge to make up for those possible losses and to ensure that if they are single largest, they can get to a majority mark, or they can get to the single largest mark. So I think that's why we are seeing this push. There's one more thing I'd like to say. The Prime Minister is a remarkable mass politician. Manmohan Singh was not a mass politician. H.D. Devegowda was not a mass politician. I.K. Gujral was not a mass politician. P.V. Narasimha Rao was not a mass politician, right? The Vajpayee was the only one in the last 25 years who was a mass politician and who has been Prime Minister. So while I think it's open to debate whether the Prime Minister should invest so much, I think there is a logic to why the Prime Minister is investing so much, because he's in a position to win parties' elections and the BJP has no local leadership. The election is riding completely on Prime Minister Modi. If he wins, it will reflect on his enormous popularity and continued popularity. But if BJP loses, the interesting thing is that it may not necessarily reflect on his diminished popularity, because there are a range of other factors which are also working which are caste equations, which are the arithmetic that the alliance brings to the table. So I think it will have implications. Of course, there will be a corrective that Mr. Modi will have to undergo, but I don't think it will necessarily reflect the fact that in 2019 he is in trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point which I did want to come to later, because I think the election to really watch out then is the 2019 election and whether the opposition can get its act together. Ghanshyam Tiwari, though, the question then is about Akhilesh Yadav and his future. Of course, if he wins this election, it's a big victory for Akhilesh, and it really depends on how that alliance with the Congress plays out. But even if he loses, the sense people seem to have is that he would still have emerged as an important leader, and certainly in the run-up to 2019 as a force to reckon with. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
That's a good assessment. Today was the final phase of campaign, last day. And I think people of Uttar Pradesh have shown that they believe in Akhilesh Yadav's leadership and his ability to set a vision for the state and his ability to deliver. We are proud of the campaign that we have run. Uttar Pradesh has voted peacefully, which also shows that Uttar Pradesh is a peaceful state and not the state that BJP tried to paint. For the Prime Minister, the way the campaign has moved, I think on one end, we had set an agenda and we are consistent with the agenda of Kaam Bolta Hai and tried to showcase that with all humility. On the other end, BJP set an agenda, failed, set an agenda, failed. So for them, it was a journey from failure to failure. They failed in the Jat vote land by in the Hindu-Muslim polarization. To the end, when the Prime Minister landed in Varanasi, the Nara in 2014 was Har Har Modi, and in 2017 has become Har Har Modi. So I agree with Prashant that Prime Minister is a mass politician, and that is why he is able to sell.
You can't deny his personal popularity, though. Do you concede that, you know, as a leader, you know, there are, that people really do identify with him, despite demonetization?
Absolutely. I mean, look at demonetization. You speak about it. This is Harry Potter economics. He is comparing Harvard economists with hardworking. Basically, it is Harvard economics versus Hogwarts School of Wizardry. No economist in the world has been able to back demonetization, and the government is brazen enough to say that when 86% of currency was out of circulation, 100% of people were in line, the farmers were unable to sell their produce, shopkeepers were able to do no business, the country progressed. What kind of progress and what kind of data are they using to showcase the country is progressing? So today BJP is so desperate to win support for demonetization that even if they win a Twitter poll, they will say that it's a victory for demonetization.
Okay, so you're looking at it that way. Debashish, let me ask you, you're a young...
Twitter poll?
Yeah. No, one second, Mr. Rao. I'll come back to you. Let me ask this young man from the BSP. You know, a lot of the media has now been writing about whether we've been underrating Mayawati, whether the media has, you know, sort of ignored the BSP factor. What is the party thinking today? She seems to be quietly sitting there in the corner, and she may surprise everybody on Saturday.
See, the party like BSP, they works on the ground. We have a proper channel, how the proper party is working. We have proper feedback, and so we are not totally dependent on the media. The things that are going in favor of BSP, I'm pretty sure about that. The thing I feel that in the upcoming date of 11th of March, I think BSP is going to surprise everyone. They are going to form a government in majority. As you've seen the reports that are coming that how the officials in Uttar Pradesh are working, all the parks were, so there are expectations that BSP might come. And my proper, if I'm a worker of BSP, I'll say that the groundwork we are getting, that all the section of the society, whether it is Dalits, whether it is Muslims, whether it is OBC, all have been consolidated inside the one proper blue flag, that is BSP. So my perception is that certainly the upcoming results are going for a surprise for the BJP also, and the Akhilesh Yadav, that is Samajwadi Party also. I also think that the way Modi is doing the campaigning, it's like BJP has turned to an event party, and Modi from Prime Minister became the Prachar Mantri. We have seen in the Bihar elections also and the Delhi elections also, he was not so desperate, but the desperation he is showing that he has taken this election as an election of his self-respect or ego. So that's not a good thing for a person who is sitting on the constitutional post.
Okay.